She really believes in an ethical society, our moral responsibility. Don't forget, the first object of her society is to form a nucleus of universal brotherhood without distinction of race, creed, caste, sex, or color.
Yeah, that was definitely forward thinking. What about other forms of consciousness, other life forms? Like
certainly there are hierarchies, spiritual hierarchies that are more developed, that she refers to in the Secret Doctrine as the Elohim in Hebrew,
right.
The angels before the throne. So you have all of these hierarchies, out of which man is just a part of this. It's an idea that had been prevalent before, called the great chain of being, where everybody is interconnected with this divine spiritual progress. And it's always this idea of progress. I don't think she believed, for instance, in metempsychosis, where you could be born a human and then, if you were bad, in your next life be born an animal, because that's not progress. That's going back into a lower form.
And so what did Madame Blavatsky, what did she argue was the proper place of somebody, a prophet like Jesus? Did she have a thought on that?
Yes, in fact, she writes to her aunt, that what is the basis of all belief, but to love God before all things, and thy neighbor as thyself. And as you know, this particular quote comes from the story in the Gospel where, the lawyer asked Jesus, who is my, where he asked him afterwards, well, who is my brother, who is my neighbor? And, Jesus gives this wonderful answer. So she certainly regards him as, the spiritual teacher, and of course she also has high words for the Buddha.
What about the Kabbalah? I would think she would have eaten
Kabbalah
that up.
Is there, especially as one of the many theories.
Was she a member of any secret society?
Not really. She was given, other than this one she claimed to, have belonged to in India. But she was actually given a Masonic diploma in the 1870s.
That they would recognize her for that,
yeah,
and then still not let her actually come to the club. But so there was no other. You don't see there was no other. Secret society before, other than the Theosophical Society, which was very public.
Well, in the initial days, I think for almost the first 10 years, it was a secret society. In the turn, you signed a oath of secrecy. You had to be a member to attend meetings because people were just outraged at some of these ideas of karma or reincarnation, or just simply the equality of individuals was an outrageous idea.
And Madame Blavatsky doesn't leave behind many photos, does she? I mean, for all of these travels, I don't think I've ever seen like a Madame Blavatsky documentary or anything of her in all of these different countries.
So she's photographed fairly well from the 1870s till when she dies. I guess they just simply couldn't get her out from her desk. I mean, this woman literally, she edited 2 magazines. She really was a powerhouse of writing. I think that's why she's so popular with writers and musicians and artists today, still today. Elvis was, of course, one of her admirers.
I didn't know that, and I was going to ask you. It sort of seems like I'm waiting for the Angelina Jolie version of her life. Is there a movie in the works?
Not yet, but I want to tell you, many years ago, someone I knew in the record business, in the movie business, said actually the perfect person to play Madame Blavatsky would have been Jackie Gleason in a wig.
She was that big?
She was a fairly stout woman. Imagine she had no exercise. She would get up and just go to that desk and write and write and write.
Interesting. So that's where we'll bring you into the conversation coming up. It's your turn, your questions, your comments for Michael Gomes, the editor and annotator of The Secret Doctrine, available for the first time in softcover, the abridged version of the writings of Madame Blavatsky. If you go ahead and grab a phone now, we'll get you coming on the air with your questions or comments about The Secret Doctrine. What else do you want to know about what might be in The Secret Doctrine? We'll find out next on Coast to Coast AM. This is Ian Punnett. George is in Flagstaff, Arizona, with the most recent editor, Michael Gomes, on Coast to Coast AM. George?
What comes to my mind is some of the current great works. I call them great works, like A Course in Miracles. Is it possible that any of the material in that is like channeled, they were told that it's a channeling. Could any of that come from those vast writings that Madame Blavatsky came through?
Michael?
That the material in the Course of Miracles, George, has sort of been influenced by Blavatsky, you think?
Yeah, he was just wondering whether that sort of thing, popularized by Oprah Winfrey and some other people who have been doing work on that.
Yes, it's certainly part of the cultural, koinonia of our time. It's part of our cultural language. But she certainly is the person who struck the keynote. She gave us, as you remember, you were mentioning before about the divine archetype and then form following it. She gave us this keynote, and it seems that all the great literature that's followed has to interact or respond to her concepts in some way, either accepting or rejecting.
What about The Secret, the very popular The Secret?
Yes, I would say certainly so. There's the concepts, you create your own reality. The whole idea of, I would think, the Secret Doctrine and really Western esotericism is that the individual really has, power over creation, as told in the Bible.
Patrick is in North Dakota on the first-time caller line on Coast to Coast AM. Patrick? An internal conflict which you're externalizing here, and I get that. So let me put you on hold while we talk about that. Are you following him, Michael? On this?
Generally.
It seems like he feels guilty over something which he's led to think could be possibly true, but he's resisting it and saying, almost sort of repeating the orthodoxy of Christ is the only way, as a way of trying to fend off something which he's sensing. Where are you with that?
Well, certainly one of Blavatsky's ideas is she doesn't want to convert anyone to any other religion. In fact, she says it will give you a deeper insight into your own particular belief, whether you're Christian, Muslim, Jew. Now, he's having these experiences, he's having these things. Christianity has a really wide range of acceptance. And, what does St. Paul says, to test all things, to hold fast to what is true. You have to find out in turn what is that truth in this experience.
Well, and
he didn't ask for it.
Interesting you should talk about that. Did Madame Blavatsky really say this idea that it could inform whatever tradition you're in? She actually says that?
Yep.
Because that's exactly what they say in The Secret.
Yep, this is her.
Yep.
This is one of her ideas.
And I think they actually said the same thing in A Course in Miracles too.
You'll be amazed how many echoes of this material flows through all sorts of strains. But if you want to get to the source of it, if you want to see what the people who are saying things have read and is their real source, even though unacknowledged, you will find it in the Secret Doctrine.
Michael, let me ask you about satanic worship. In all of the books in all of the different traditions, in all of the things that she incorporated into the Secret Doctrines, is there anything at all about devil worship?
Not devil worship. She doesn't believe in worshiping, she says the only source that humanity should turn their attention to is that one supreme cause, the God is the universal mind, devotes to all things. So Satan and all of those things, there is a chapter in the book, by the way, called The Myth of the Fallen Angel that would certainly interest anyone in that idea. Though, of course, her idea is that actually the person in the Bible actually gives humanity that knowledge of good and evil. She investigates this Satan myth to a great extent in Isis Unveiled in the Secret Doctrine. She sort of takes the Gnostic view that Satan is actually creation of God. He is, and of course, in the Book of Job, Satan and God are having this debate about who's going to make this poor man lose his faith. So she talks about these things, but actually, I don't think worshiping Satan or any of these astral forms.
So you would say no to satanic worship.
No to satanic worship. Though I don't think she's thinking of Satan as an actuality or a force. As she says in her writings, the only evil in this world is found in humanity.